Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease which is treated with immunosuppressive drugs and a combination of medicines for the symptoms associated with the disease. Conventional medicine does not offer a cure for MS. Sufferers of MS experience a host of debilitating symptoms which substantially decreases their quality of life and also shortens their lifespan. The good news is that the scientific research has documented recoveries and effective natural treatments for the disease, which we will discuss in this video. The disease is associated with various alterations in blood chemistry, which when treated result in a reversal of the symptoms of the disease. In Italy, a MS patient was found to have elevated levels of a number of toxic metals after being administered EDTA, which is a metal chelating drug. He was subsequently given 60 metal chelation treatments to remove the toxic metals. His symptoms subsided as the levels of excreted toxic metals decreased. The patient also took a multivitamin and multi-antioxidant supplement. A study in the US compared MS patients who had their mercury amalgam tooth fillings removed against those that did not. The study found of those that had removal, 3 out of 45 recovered from MS, 15 improved, and 13 got worse. This was an old study, and mercury removal, if not done following strict safety procedures, can result in the patient being exposed to extremely high levels of mercury, which could explain why some MS patients worsened. 2 identical twins were diagnosed with MS. One underwent conventional treatments. The other underwent chelation therapy to remove toxic metals found in the urine after administration of EDTA, a metal chelating substance. The twin who underwent chelation therapy remained in good health many years later, while the other twin became bedridden and died years earlier. A study from Italy of 20 healthy controls and 20 MS patients given antioxidants, vitamins, and metal chelation therapy for 3 months to remove toxic metals found lower levels of oxidative stress and high levels of antioxidants in the blood of patients after the treatments. Before treatment, it was demonstrated by a number of markers that MS patients were suffering from high levels of oxidative stress and had lower amounts of antioxidants in their blood. This study shows combined heavy metal detoxification along with antioxidant supplementation significantly reversed the aberrant blood chemistry found in MS patients. A study on 32 MS patients and 24 controls from Bosnia found that MS patients had substantially lowered levels of serum antioxidant capacity. A study from Spain of 36 subjects with MS and 32 controls found that serum vitamin E levels were depleted in MS sufferers. Vitamin E is an important antioxidant that protects cell membranes. In a study from Hungary, it was found that MS sufferers had increased markers of oxidative stress along with depleted levels of antioxidants in their blood. In a study on 88 patients with MS in Norway, it was found that higher serum vitamin E levels was associated with improved brain MRI results, indicating that vitamin E may be protective in MS patients. Sufferers of MS have abnormal levels of a number of immune system cytokines. These molecules modulate the functioning of the immune system. Excess levels of these molecules can cause a wide range of adverse symptoms associated with immune system activation. In a study from Italy, we previously mentioned 3 months of chelation and antioxidant supplementation was able to substantially improve levels of inflammatory cytokines in MS patients. MS patients regularly undergo MRI scans to assess disease status. Patients may be injected with a contrast agent that contains a rare earth metal called gadolinium. Studies show that this metal may be released and retained in the tissues of patients for long periods, potentially causing serious problems in those who are already in a fragile state of health. MS patients who who have undergone contrast-enhanced MRIs should use the techniques mentioned in my guidebook to speed up the elimination of this toxic metal from the body. In a study on 48 individuals suffering MS, half had previously had their mercury-containing dental fillings removed, found that those who had previously removed their fillings had improved disease status compared to those who had not. A study on 29 MS sufferers and 29 healthy controls from Iran found that as blood lead levels increased, so did the risk of suffering MS. A study from Israel on 49 MS patients and 37 controls found that MS patients had higher levels of urinary cadmium, and increased levels of cadmium correlated with the severity of the symptoms of the disease. A study found that patients with neurodegenerative disease, including MS, had much higher levels of various toxic metals in their urine after being given a metal chelating agent compared to healthy controls. Treatment to remove these toxic metals resulted in improvements of the MS symptoms. An analysis of 16 studies found high levels of blood cadmium and arsenic in MS patients compared to healthy controls. A study from China on 34 MS patients and 44 healthy subjects found supplementation of 400 milligrams of vitamin E a day significantly reduced markers of oxidative stress in MS patients. A study from Iran on 48 MS patients, half were treated with the antioxidant COQ10. The treatment improved antioxidant levels and reduced markers of oxidative tissue breakdown. If, as the evidence suggests, that environmental pollutants trigger or worsen MS, the levels of the pollutants may not be very important. What is more important is the individual's propensity to develop immune system dysfunction on exposure. A large number of factors could affect this. Most of us are not exposed to a single pollutant, but a slew of persistent environmental pollutants throughout our lives. It could be that a specific mix of pollutants combined with an individual's state of health and genetic makeup determines if a disease state like MS manifests. The vast majority of studies on environmental pollutants analyze the effect of one or perhaps two toxic substances. Very little research has investigated the combined effects of multiple environmental pollutants on human health and states of disease. Measuring levels of environmental pollutants in the human body in itself is a difficult task. It is easy to measure the levels that the body is excreting or the levels circulating in the serum. However, these measures may not accurately indicate the levels in the tissues and bones. Substantial research has been conducted showing that humans and animals can develop autoimmune type reactions when exposed to environmental pollutants. Research has shown that in the Pacific Ocean, levels of mercury in tuna are continually increasing. Coal-fired power plants worldwide release thousands of tons of mercury, lead, and cadmium into the atmosphere yearly. It is impossible to completely avoid being exposed to a range of environmental pollutants, even if you are extremely careful. A lot of the toxins and pollutants that we are exposed to leave our body in days or weeks. However, pollutants like cadmium, lead, mercury, thallium, aluminium, gadolinium, non-stick chemicals, dioxins, PCBs, and many others may be retained in our tissues for years or many decades. I developed severe chronic fatigue syndrome as well as a host of symptoms often seen in MS patients like trouble walking and swallowing. My MRI scans revealed multiple hyperintensities. I saw countless conventional and alternative medical doctors, and still I continued to get worse. It was only until I started detoxifying the burden of environmental pollutants that deterioration of my condition stopped, and I saw slow but steady improvements. Over the months and years, I recovered and reached a practically optimal state of health. This journey is what made me decide to create a guidebook on detoxification. I suffered immensely and lost many years of my life to these symptoms. I felt that it is now my duty, now I have recovered, to help others who are suffering. As we have demonstrated, detoxification is an important and proven treatment for those suffering MS. When MS patients reduce their body burden of environmental pollutants, their biochemical markers improve simultaneously with their symptoms. I put together a guidebook which teaches you how to rid yourself of these environmental pollutants using vitamins, minerals, herbs, and metal chelators. Over 1,000 medical studies were reviewed to create the guide. The guide contains over 50 pages of references to research discussed in the book. The detoxification process itself will result in decreased levels of the oxidative stress we see in MS sufferers, and a restoration of levels of systemic antioxidants. This is because environmental pollutants result in the same increased levels of oxidative stress and reduction of serum antioxidant levels that we see in MS patients. In fact, one way to indirectly detect exposure to environmental pollutants is to measure serum antioxidants and markers of oxidative stress. Once you start removing the buildup of environmental toxins from your body, you should start to notice monthly improvements in your health. Within a year, you should be able to substantially reduce the levels of these toxins in your body, and whatever health condition you have which is related to these pollutants should be largely improved. As further exposures are unavoidable, continued periodic detoxification should be continued and your state of health will continue to improve. Due to the buildup of pollutants in the environment, practically all of us have a significant burden of these long-lasting environmental pollutants trapped in our bodies. These pollutants disable cellular enzymes, block the uptake of essential minerals, and lead to dysfunction, damage, and cellular death. These environmental pollutants prevent us from achieving optimal longevity, vigor, and vitality. For more information about the contents of the book and the detoxification agents used, click the link in the description. To help others find this content, and if you found this information useful, please click the like button. Thank you.